I'm the #1 ranked bantamweight in the UFC. So I got stem cells in my knee. My knee is feeling a lot better.
I'm fired up. Everyone's just laughing. Talk us into wiener shots.
Well, let's get into that. So this one guy's in there, and he's like, yeah, I'm getting my done. My buddy Tim messaged CPI and said, hey, Sugar has a huge fight coming up. We'd love to come down.
So I was just kind of looking around, and then it popped up CPI. I think I had Sean text Joe Rogan and say, who does he use for stem cells?
CPI. You know how many people I've sent down there, and they come back and tell me how great they feel now?
Really?
Yeah. A ton.
Now I got the stem cells in my shoulder.
How's that doing? We should let everybody know this is the place that's in Tijuana. It's run by Scotty Nelson, Ed Clay.
You land in San Diego. They pick you up on a Monday morning. They drive you across the border. You get there, you get your MRIs, and then all day you're on NAD. You're on all this. It's
they put
not
you in
just
hyperbaric chamber.
Hyperbaric chamber every day. You know, so they do a little bit of that there too. They give you a little bit of that NAD. So the doctor that's shooting it up, he's looking at a screen, and you could see the needle, and he's going right to it. Boom, hit it in 4 different ways. It's 100% now.
That's
the
nice.
shoulder's 100%.
Who are you? What's your name and what do you do?
All right. My name is Scotty Nelson. I'm one of the founders of the Cellular Performance Institute, CPI Stem Cells. That's what I do for work. And
Tell me about all the work you're doing here that is helping people, but you can't do in the United States. Because right now, if people are watching, we're in Tijuana, Mexico. And the more you come down here, the more you just learn about how just absolutely corrupt and how absolutely crazy the medical industry in America is. Comparatively to the treatment that you get here, it's a world of difference from my experiences.
Yeah.
You're an American, but you're here in Tijuana. Why? And what are you doing here that you can't do in the United States?
Sure. Well, the first thing I like to say is that, the Mexican culture is such a more caring culture, much more family oriented. So starting with that in where that they really want to see people get better. And I think you probably experienced with my staff, they really take care of everybody. They're very caring. And because of that, they're just much more open with what they let and how they let people, treat it. So there are stem cells that are legal and there are stem cells that can be used in the United States. They're just older technologies. The way the system works in the United States to get things approved is a very slow and expensive process. And like all technologies, things are moving really fast. Just in the last 3 to 5 years in stem cells, things have changed a lot and they've progressed a lot. So because we have our own cellular production here that's fully licensed, and we're also allowed to treat with cellular treatments here. Because of that, we're just way further ahead with the type of technologies that we can use in stem cells and the different types of stem cells that we can use. And we have a much broader, different type of cellular therapy. So, we have the MSC stem cells, but we also have chondrocyte cartilage stem cells very quickly coming down the pipeline. We have heart, liver, pancreas, lung, neural stem cells. And really Mexico, with the way their laws work and the licensing that we have, we're just able to offer so much more than you can in the United States.
And what kind of treatments do you guys do? How many people do you help? And what kind of treatments do you give them? And what have you seen yourself with your own eyes with the people that you worked with that come down here for your assistance?
Sure. We treat between 20 and 30 patients a week. And mostly just for joint issues, but we also see patients for autoimmune and neurological issues as well. The biggest thing is for me, I broke my back training MMA, wrestling, and I had a back surgery. I wish I knew about stem cells. The back surgery just didn't really work for me. They told me that I would be back and doing well in 3 months. It took me 8 months to walk and 2 years of physical therapy before I really got my life back. And then about 5 years at post-surgery, I was back to being as much pain as possible. And all that could be offered to me was a fusion. And I didn't really want to fuse my back. So by then I was just used to the pain, and I decided I would wait it out as long as I can. And stem cells came around. And my business partner, Francisco, was like, hey, I can fix your back. I've done a lot of backs. And so I was the first disc injection done at our hospital. And it's been nothing short of miraculous for me. I'm 2 years out. I haven't had any back pain since then. Back to rolling jujitsu, kiteboarding, riding dirt bikes, doing all these things that I never thought I would ever do again. My back had gotten so bad I couldn't walk downstairs very well. I couldn't sit with both butt cheeks on the chair at once for more than 5 or 10 minutes. Couldn't carry a backpack, just a lot of things in normal life, were gone. And, as I started getting close to being 50, I started thinking, is this what my life's really going to be like? Where am I going to be at 60? And it's been great. And we see all kinds of patients come down. They're told at home they're bone on bone. They need a knee replacement, shoulder, hip replacement, and they're able to come down and with just one treatment avoid that whole replacement. We have a lot of athletes that come down that just kind of need a little bit of a quick fix, a little boost so they could go into their next event. And we're able to do that for them too. We have patients that come down that have asthma, that don't need their inhalers anymore. We have patients who have heart conditions, liver conditions, all of these conditions that the stem cells are able to improve it for them, being very minimally invasive, And we take a lot of the auxiliary treatments that we use for cancer patients, things like the IV ozone, hyperbaric oxygen, Myers cocktail, PEMF, NAD+, which I know you guys really like and use at home. And we put all the ones together that work synergistically with the stem cells, and we get a lot of really good results.
It's a lot of treatment and a lot of stuff that you can't get in the United States, which is just mind-boggling. A lot of Americans also come here just for prescription medications, which are a lot more readily available. There's some drugs here that are, a few bucks, some of them are $100, but in the United States, they're like tens of thousands of bucks, which is just mind-blowing. Yeah. And a lot of people are going bankrupt. A lot of people are losing their life savings because they came down with a sickness and illness, and then they go to the doctor. And, this doesn't happen all the times, but it does happen a lot, where I think it's a problem that needs to be addressed in America, where doctors are like, prescription drugs, take them, go, get out of here. Yeah. Or surgery right away. We're going to make a lot of money off of you. And the saying that comes to my mind after delving into healthcare in America compared to Mexico is that I would say in America, there's no profit in a cure. Yeah. And I would say in Mexico, they're kind of more focused towards curing you. Now, of course, it also depends on your doctor. It also depends on what facility you go to. There's a lot of makeshift facilities. There's bad facilities in Mexico, just like there's bad facilities in the United States. Yeah. So take everything with a grain of salt. But when you do your own research, when you do your own homework, especially looking into stuff like stem cells, it does seem like there's a lot of very strong evidence there that shows that it helps a lot of people. And it's being used here, but it's not being used in the United States. Why do you think that's happening? And what would happen if we did start using it?
Yeah. So, well, I think there's a lot of scientists and doctors that they do want to see it legalized, and they do want to see it go through the FDA process. It's just a very slow, very expensive process. I was told by one person going through a FDA process that pretty much the process was designed before there was computers, let alone AI, and it's just very slow and it's very expensive. But that's something that we're pushing forward really hard for us. We have all of our patients come back in 90 days for a free MRI, and a year later for a free MRI. We're very close to the U.S. 20 minutes took you guys to get here. So it's very convenient for people, and people like to see what their results are from the MRI. Well, we're collecting all of that data. Hopefully next month we'll be publishing our first paper, and our goal is to get them approved by the FDA. When they are approved, what I do think will happen is that this will become a first option before surgery. So I got called out on the internet for saying it's always should be a first option. Maybe not always. Sorry, I used that word. But for me, it's always worth looking into. Okay, there might be, some situations where stem cells aren't going to fix the issue. But in my experience, about half of my patients have surgeries that didn't work that come down here. And most of them do get relief from the stem cells. Even if they're not doing direct injections, the IV can go throughout your body. And a lot of people, a guy came back today, did not get his back injected when he was down here, but said his back feels fantastic. And all of his aches and pains, said he used to be very stiff every morning, and he's not experiencing that. It's only been 90 days. He has another 8 months or so of healing from his other injections and stuff to take advantage of, and for that healing to happen for him. So, I like to give a lot of doctors, but I've met a lot of great doctors in the U.S. I've met some bad ones too. I met a few ones that I thought were terrible when I was looking at my back surgery. They wouldn't give me the time of day to actually pull my MRI and explain to me why I need back surgery. It was just like, you need a surgery. Well, why? Because your back's messed up. Well, what's messed up about it? And then they're just annoyed with me. But I've also met a lot of really great doctors and very caring doctors. I think most doctors get in because they are caring. They're not trying to get rich. There's not a lot of rich doctors. It's just the way the system is designed, the insurance companies. Everyone talks about big pharma. Take a look at big insurance. In my opinion, they control more of the treatments that you get than necessarily what your doctor is able to give you. So we're very confident, that we're going to be able to push this through very quickly with the FDA. My business partners, our scientific advisory board, they're very experienced in it, and everybody wants to see that happen. We have a goal to treat 300 veterans for free with our phase 2 trial. And we really want to give back to the veteran community. I think it's funny sometimes say, how are you guys going to get all these 300 patients? But, I think we have 32 here this week with you guys that are paying for treatment. I'm pretty sure if we put out, we want to treat people for free, they'd line right up.
Absolutely. And especially when you do your own homework, do your own research.
Yeah.
I first heard about this issue many, many years ago. In the beginning, especially during the Bush years, there was a big controversy surrounding it, but that wasn't the stem cells that we have today. And that there's a big discrepancy because a lot of people think stem cells, they're like, is this the new adrenochrome? Is this taking aborted fetuses? And it's completely different. If you could explain that here just a little bit, because it takes a lot of kind of background to dispel a lot of the kind of propaganda behind it as well.
Sure. And I'm no doctor, I'm no scientist expert, but the older fetal type stem cells, I don't know anybody that uses them anymore. From what I understand, they're more difficult to use. And actually, we don't need to use them anymore because those type of stem cells are called pluripotent stem cells. And the stem cells, the MSC stem cells that we have now that come from the umbilical cord, can actually be reverted back to that type of cell. So there's no even reason to go that way beyond the moral reasons. It's just it's unnecessary. And so the stem cells that we have, they come from the umbilical cord. They're called hypoxic mesenchymal stem cells. They're expanded, meaning they take the cells and they grow them over and over again. They incubate them. And people ask us, is this from a vaccinated mother? Is this that? It's like, no. Like the stem cells, they can be grown over and over and over again. So we don't need a new umbilical cord every time. We don't need that. We have our own cellular facility. You guys seen it. It's right behind where you guys are getting treated. And the stem cells want to grow. Stem cells turn into babies. So it's not like The Simpsons, it's nothing like that. That's all really old. It's crazy because, when Joe Rogan first started talking about us and mentioning us, he had Eric Anders on there. We got a flood of inquiries, and I actually had to put like a paywall up to protect my doctors because people were calling and they wanted to book a doctor call, but they were calling just to scream at the doctor for murdering babies. And it's like, we need the furthest thing from that, you know what I mean? Even some of the other technologies where they do need, multiple umbilical cords, we're so far ahead of that.
Yeah, I think I first heard about you guys from Eddie Bravo on the Joe Rogan podcast. And then my friend Tim Pool was having his own problems. He reached out to Joe Rogan. He recommended you. Yep. We're here. So, all transparency, we're doing some of the treatments and protocols here. Yep. Again, I have had many experiences, especially in America. A lot of them were just awful. A lot of the doctors are just, they have so much attitude. They have no time for you. They don't want to look into your charts. They don't want to look into your blood levels. They're like, yeah, you're fine. And then you look and you're like, oh, yeah, you could be fine by the numbers, but that doesn't mean you're doing fine, especially if you look at the levels that I'm at my particular age with this specific vitamin, mineral, or hormone that I have that should be optimized. Right. There's nothing about optimizing your health. There's nothing about taking care of your health. And a lot of the doctors here that I've been dealing with from your office here, like, you might need this, you might not. Let's find out if you really do. Then let's go from here instead of just being like, hey, give me some money. And that's a big difference. That's a huge difference. And that kind of discernment, I wish more people would have, as of course, if we could use more of a holistic approach, I think that would be the best answer. And that's what I've been kind of preaching. That's what I've been talking about. But
I
sometimes,
agree with you 100%. Yeah.
if you're injured, if you have significant injuries, I mean, there's a lot of significant injuries that I've been through. A lot of pain that I've been through. Very few things help. So I'm curious to see how this will go. I'm curious to see my results. We, of course, will be keeping everyone updated. I have a health little website, lukeandfiltered.com, where we get into a lot of that other stuff. But how was the kind of Joe Rogan impact? Because the people I'm here with, it seems like all of them kind of listen to Joe Rogan. A lot of them are in the know, and a lot of the people here are like fans of everyone else here, and like, hey, I know you from here, you know here, you know here, you know this guy, you know this guy, and it's like a small circle of people who kind of think along the same ways.
It's you just had Ballard on your show. We got one of Ballard's guys here.
Yep.
I guess like minds are attracted to each other. It takes a certain type of person to be willing to, not risk getting kidnapped or beheaded. By the way, is it scary down here?
I've been in Mexico 70. I traveled down to Mexico 70 times.
Yeah.
I've been in Michoacan. Yeah. I've been in Chiron. I've been from Cancun to Puerto Vallarta. I've been everywhere.
Yeah.
I love it. But if someone wants to be a Karen and be like, oh, it's not safe, it's not, don't come, we don't want those people anyway.
We don't even need you.
But again,
need you. I had a guy at dinner. He's like, I can't believe you wear that watch down here. I'm like, I don't wear it in L.A., but I've been here 9 years.
Yeah.
I drive a very nice car. I've never had not one patient had a problem, not one employee problem. A lot of my employees live in San Diego, drive over the board, they're gringos. No one's ever had a problem. You go to the wrong neighborhood, you look for trouble, you can find that in any city, anywhere.
Yeah, don't sell drugs here
in the world. Yeah,
don't
buy drugs, don't sell drugs. Don't do that anywhere.
Yeah.
So just not an issue at all. And it's just things are different down here. They're a lot more open. They're a lot more caring. And my doctors, we gave somebody money back who didn't need as much treatment that was down here. And they're really looking at your overall health. So my patients come back all the time. I have patients that come twice a year. I have patients that come 4 times a year. We've been blessed to find issues with people that they had no idea about. In the States, again, I like to not necessarily blame it on the doctors. They're just caught up in a system, and that system forces them to, they only get a little amount of time. They only see people so much. Well, you can get an hour with your doctor if you need your doctor for an hour here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've got... Allie got something wrong, has nothing to do with stem cells. Well, guess what? We're going to go get the medication stuff that we need. We found a guy, his blood pressure's up. Okay, what are we going to get you, for your blood pressure? We have our own compounding pharmacy. We have 2 pharmacies in-house. We make all of our own drugs. We can get just about anything. We can get it for very, very affordable. And we want our patients' overall health, If I fix your knee, but the rest of your, you're having other problems, you're not healthy. The goal is to get everybody healthy.
And if your body's not working optimally, and if your levels aren't good and they're in balance in some sort of way, you got to fix that, because later down the line, you're going to have more problems.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people really need to consider, in my opinion, preemptive healthcare, because I'll just be frank here. To me, there's an entire industry that profits off of human suffering, and there's a lot of things in our society. There's a lot of people being chemically poisoned. There's a lot of people being hurt in many different ways that they have no idea about. And there is a war on health. And if you're not aware of that war, you're probably already being affected by it in a very negative way. And we could get into the nitty-gritty issues. We could get into glyphosates, microplastics, forever chemicals, seed oils, and high fructose corn syrup and soy and all the other chemicals and all the stuff that they infuse in our foods and environments that it's very difficult to escape. Yes. Almost everything has it. So if you're not taking preemptive steps towards being healthy and not being impacted by those, you're already impacted by it, and you're going to have some significant suffering and pain down the line. I don't want any of that. Yeah. And that's why I've been on a crusade and mission. I used to be fat. I used to be like 200 pounds.
You showed me.
I used to be unhappy. I used to be miserable. Now my life's totally different from doing this. So if you had your way, if you got to be dictator for a day, what would you do? What kind of words of wisdom would you kind of leave the people here with?
I mean, just like you have, man, educate yourself. We're so far down the line, it's really hard to get away from everything. You just got to do the best that you can. Like our cancer patients, when they come down here and we just do a little bit of detox on them and start filling them full of good, organic, nutritious food, that alone starts bringing them back. add in some IV ozone and all the vitamins and minerals, like a Myers cocktail they need, that, you see their face, their color come back in their face, their eye, the light in their eyes starting coming back. So it's really about educating yourself, and then how much can you avoid, like how much can you get out, and how much detox can you do.
And there's also a spiritual component. I don't know if you want to talk about that or don't want to talk about that, but there are a lot of studies suggesting and showing how when people are okay with their mortality, they end up living and surviving cancers a lot more than if they're dreading their mortality and fearful of it. So your mind state also matters, and that's something that you guys also have integrated here, which kind of impressed me with some other substances. I don't know if you want to mention them. You don't have to.
We can talk about anything.
But there is something larger when it comes to the hippy dippy stuff that a lot of people don't usually want to get into, because there's a lot of woo-woo stuff, there's a lot of snake oil, there's a lot of frauds and fakes out there, but there is something about having a good, clear conscience and energy and being okay and letting go of control that does help people deal with issues like cancer from a spiritual level, but also from a physical level with documented scientific effects.
Yes, absolutely with you. And, to kind of just back up a little bit about the history. So Ed Clay, my business partner, and Dedrick Perry, my other business partner, in the hospital, when we first reopened it, we reopened it to treat his mom. So his mom couldn't get the treatment she wanted and needed in America. He found something outside of America. We found this hospital that had that treatment. And so the whole thing kind of started with that type of a caring approach. And, because of that, Ed was also a high-level MMA fighter and a high-level MMA coach. And he thought to himself, I need to put together the best. My mom's in the fight of her life. I need to put together the best fight camp I can for my mom. And that just got transitioned into our patients. And so part of that is what we have classes twice a week called Power of the Mind, right? Joe Dispenza type stuff. We know that if a patient's mind gives up, then there's no way they're going to win a fight. If a fighter goes into a fight and he thinks he's going to lose, chances are he's going to lose. Now, that doesn't mean that if a patient is completely positive in fighting, that they're necessarily going to survive cancer. We don't get to say that. So we work a lot on the mental game. And something for me personally that I learned, I've never been a very religious person, grew up Christian. I also never thought growing up that I would be, right there when so many people were at the end stage of their life getting ready to pass. And something over the years, I spent a lot of time, you could see with the patients personally, I care. And
you've been showing up every day.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
No, I don't.
You're the guy in charge here. You're the one running operations, but you still show up and talk to everyone and explain to everyone what's going on. You take everyone to dinner,
especially the cancer patients. Yep. I want to hug them. I want to talk to them. I just told you one. I call her mom because she seems like my mom, and so we need that camp. We need that presence around them, and then being there with them is that I started to realize that my patients, who we unfortunately weren't successful in treating, and it happens, it's cancer, that if they had faith, and it could be, I'm not saying you had a religion, I'm not saying, it was all Christians, Muslims, whatever it was. If they had faith in some type of a higher power, some type of spirituality, that transitional passing that they had was so much more at peace, and they didn't have the absolute look of fear. Patients who didn't, their eye movement would get crazy. You could just see the panic and fear in them. And so that kind of made me think, hey, even if it's all make-believe, that was powerful. I don't want to be the person who has no belief and have my last seconds, minutes, hours on this earth be absolute panic and fear.
Yeah.
I want my transition, my passing, to look like the people who had faith. And that's what made me have a lot more belief and a lot more faith. So that's super powerful. We started out, we did treatment for addicts doing Ibogaine. Very powerful, great substance. We've moved away from it. We found that having cancer patients and autoimmune patients and stem cell patients and drug addicts in the same hospital, we would hope that they could inspire each other. It didn't. It didn't work. And we felt like the other project was a bigger project for us. But because of that, we had a doctor, and she was licensed to use toad medicine. And at first it would be used post Ibogaine. Ibogaine's a very internal trip, and you want to bring the person back out, and she would do toad medicine. And then we had a cancer patient's family member ask her to do toad medicine. I believe it was for a mother. I might not be sure, but and she wanted to experience it, and it had a remarkable effect on her. So this doctor who was licensed to do toad medicine, I think she works for MAPS now. Her name was Annie. She was amazing. She asked us, "Can I administer this to the cancer patients if they want?" Absolutely. And a lot of patients got a lot of benefit from it. It gave them that connection, I feel, and that outer perspective, that the stress that comes with knowing you have cancer, knowing that you're that close to death, they were able to let go of it. And it's very powerful.
And there are studies showing specifically people who are okay with death,
Yes.
not only have a way better treatment, but a higher survival rate in some studies. Again, doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Doesn't
Yep.
mean you never know what's going to happen. Everybody is unique. I always tell people the best health advice I could give somebody is to do what is right for you as an individual. Don't do what other people do just because you saw them do it. Do something because you know it is right for you on a physical level, but also on a larger kind of gut instinct, spiritual level as well,
Yes.
which you kind of should navigate.
Do your
in this
own
world as well.
research and trust your gut.
Exactly.
You know?
And in the United States, we are seeing a lot of cancer rates go up dramatically. We
I've
are
heard
seeing
that,
a lot
yeah.
of respiratory issues go up dramatically as well as psychological stuff. Overall, humanity, I would say specifically in the Western world, is not doing well. What kind of data have you gathered? What have you got from the treatments that you've been doing, the insights? Is there any kind of correlation? Is there anything you kind of bridge the gap when it comes to finding out what's really going on when it comes to the decline of America's health?
You know, we don't see enough people to have like really good data. You know, if you want to talk about like back injections, we probably injected 2,000 discs, and that kind of data is being tracked, knees, things like that. I can tell you from my own personal observation, seems like a lot of younger and younger people are coming down with cancer. With stem cells, we're treating COVID long hauler patients. We're treating vaccine damaged patients as well. I would love to get enough of them to start to be able to study it and publish something on that. We just don't have the volume. Everything would be anecdotal. But it's a little bit scary for me to see the younger people and stuff. Now, I also have noticed that the trust in the American medical system has eroded away a lot, and that could be why. Used to be a large percentage, probably at least 80-90% of my patients had tried everything that they could and failed standard of care in America, but didn't want to give up fighting, so then they go to Tijuana, Mexico. There seems to be a lot more people that have a distrust of the medical system, or have seen somebody else go through terrible treatments, and they're like, I'm going to go try something different. So that's a big change. I would love to get some data and have some data, but I just be making stuff up. I can just tell you, this is what I've personally seen, you know what I mean? But no tracking.
Well, in the United States, a lot of the good doctors within the last few years were fired, were obfuscated, had their medical license taken away when they were really trying to treat people, when they were trying to give early treatment to people. And the few doctors who went along and then manipulated people, exploited people, forced people to take something that they didn't really need, or even test them if they should be taking it, those are the guys that are still there. Those are the guys that got promoted. Those are the guys that are the larger part of our medical system. And when you kind of look at it that way, like, holy cow, Big Pharma came in there. They doctored their studies. They took out the people that got sick from this product. And then they bought off a lot of doctors that told people to take their product. The doctors didn't even test individuals to see if they were right for it or if there was any complications. And they just forced it on everyone through force and extortion in many ways. So yeah, there's not a lot of trust in the medical system, because how can you trust someone who just lied through their teeth and essentially helped a huge industry profit off so much? So,
and when you meet so many people, and again, we're always working hard to make this work for more people. When you see and meet so many people who are told to go home and die that don't, after they go somewhere else to get treated. There's a lot of other good places besides us. We're not it. We do the best that we can, but there's a lot of really good places out there that people can go and get treated that they should look into. And, I can remember our first cancer patient that came down, and she was bloated with edema, couldn't walk or anything, and she was sent home to die. And she said, I want to live for my 3 kids, Scott. And I said, you're gonna, let's fight. And within about 3 or 4 weeks, all the edema was gone. She came in a wheelchair. She left walking. I think she lived about 4 years longer. I used to follow her on Facebook. She wasn't even given 4 weeks.
No.
She spent 4 weeks with us.
Yeah.
And they come back. I'm not saying everything was done in 4 weeks. Lickety split. Didn't cure her cancer. But we gave her 4 more years of her life. And it wasn't just us. She worked with other doctors in other places, but she had that mindset of, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to do whatever it takes to be here for my kids. And it worked.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that story. Anything else you want to share with our audience, and where can people find you online? Where can people contact you? Where can people find out more information about you and what you're doing?
So cpistemcells.com or at CPI Stem Cells on the socials. If you're interested in stem cells and stuff like that. And I'm at Scotty OTM if you want to find me. I do my best to answer all the DMs I can, but there's a lot
difficult.
There's a lot of crazy ones in there for sure. I'll just get this out here. Don't kill babies. Don't put them in blenders. Don't do any of that stuff. So if you're one of those people, don't even buy. I doubt many of your listeners are into that.
But even if you're having, like my cousin was having a baby,
mm-hmm.
and they were having a baby in Poland, I'm like, I'll just pay for the stem cell extraction from the umbilical cord.
Yeah.
And we still have those stem cells. So if anyone in our family gets hurt or sick, or if the baby gets hurt or sick, they're going to have stem cells that they could inject themselves that came from them.
I would suggest people store those cells.
So that's another
option. We have no idea.
We
don't contact me about that. I can't do that. And I can't you can't bring your bio product over the border.
Yeah. But they're doing it in
like
Poland.
That,
They're doing it in Poland, but they're not doing it in the United States, which is crazy.
Yeah, you're a bunch of Polacks. I thought everything was backwards. Oh, that's good that it's backwards, know.
Yeah.
So down there, and who knows what the future is going to bring. There's so much, through our scientific advisory board, through CRISPR stuff, and the stuff that we're seeing that's coming down the pipeline. Like, healthcare is changing super fast. If Americans or anybody in the world wants to be healthy, things have got to change. The process that it takes and the way things are working and the momentum, the monetary momentum that's going down right now, it has to change for people to really be able to take advantage of this stuff, I feel.
Absolutely. Scott, thank you so much.
My pleasure, brother. Glad you came down.
Thank you for
Hope
taking
you feel
care
better
of us.
soon. Yeah.
I'm going to be sharing my health journey with you.
Thank you.
And with you on lukeunfiltered.com. Scott's details will be in the description, so if you guys want to find him, you guys can find him in the description. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for your
great
time.
Thank you for everything that you do.
Absolutely.
Thanks for going to Epstein Island, man.
I
want to go with you next time.
we'll talk. There might be some other opportunities, but stay tuned for a lot more craziness. And I'll see you guys later.